All right. So it was asked today if I could cover AES. There's 3 attachments up on the Cyber Club webpage, and if you want me to email to you, can. I'm going to show you what they are right now. I'm going to be talking about this document. Let it open. Okay, I'm going to talk about matrix multiplications. The main thing I'm going to cover. I need to make this hide. Okay. And so this document comes in very handy. Plus, I'm going to talk about this as well. This is a sample I give everybody. So these will definitely help you understand. Okay. These are provided when you take the cryptography course, but I just figure I'd do it. These are the actual slides from the course. AES, I did not make them, by the way. Raymond Hache right here made these slides. And he did an amazing job at them, and I've been using them ever since.
Wait a second.
What?
So you're using something from another teacher instead of another teacher using something you
I'm using from a student.
Oh.
Yeah, Raymond was a student, and he was really, really good. Now, hey, you guys can hear me, can't you, Anton? I guess that you're the only one on now. We lost somebody.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just want to make sure because I wasn't sure what microphone was using. Okay, good. All right. So, no, Raymond actually was working kind of in Cameron's position. And then he made these for a project for OSU, by the way, because he had to make something. I said, hey, I need some slides for AES. So he did a really good job. I've modified them somewhat since then because they're always, just little ways to make it a little easier to understand. It was a contest. Rigendal is the actual cipher that AES is based upon. It's a flip standard, and you can see here, a system that can break DES in 1 second will break AES. No, the system that DES will break in 1 second will take 149 trillion years for AES. So in other words, it's much better. I was speaking to David earlier today about why we teach this stuff. And here's the exact thing I told David. You will never, ever need this in your entire life. You're never going to use matrix multiplication. The odds of you needing matrix multiplication is like point nothing. Okay. Exactly. But someday having to choose which encryption to use, you can go to your boss and say, hey, the options are DES and AES. I can honestly tell you that AES is better because I've worked through both of them. So it's not that you have to know exactly how to do AES, but at the end of all this stuff, I want you to sit here and say, okay, if you had an option right now between triple DES and AES, which are still valid, which one would you pick? AES, because it is the best one right now. So we teach you this stuff just so you get an understanding. I'm not going to sit here and read this one slide to you, but by working through this algorithm, you're like, whoa, this is like crazy complicated. And if this is only a portion of it, wow. Okay. Yeah, get these 2 handouts. They might help. You don't need them, but they might help you, okay? Works good in hardware and software. So basically it works in everything. So don't think of this as, oh my God, why am I ever going to use AES? But someday you're going to have to pick which one to use. Your home routers right now, I guarantee you, they have AES on them. Okay? So would you pick it? If you had never been in this class, would you have picked AES? Would you pick DES or triple DES or TKIP or whatever? I mean,
Someone's not, that's how we usually go from the larger number. That's probably not smart, right?
Not always. So that's why we teach this stuff, okay? It does all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to go through the whole algorithm because it's really pretty easy to do, most of it. There's one section of it that's kind of confusing. Now, and I realize only a couple of you enrolled in the class now, but everybody needs it sooner or later to graduate. So, and starting in the fall, cryptography is going to be required for both digital forensics and cryptography options. Because our advisory committee, which I don't know if you realize we have one, they actually said, no, cryptography is important. Everybody needs to have a cryptography course. And since we do what our committee says, everybody's getting it now. So, this is good. Okay. AES is really in binary, but we're going to do all this in hex. Well, for the most part, okay? And we teach you how to convert it. Like if you have the word dog, the D is 44, okay? O is 6F. So there's 6. Wait, where's O? Down here. There it is. 6F. Okay. So you see how the word dog gets converted to hex. That's ASCII to hex. Okay. So 6F is dog. Okay. Or O. So easy enough there. Can I go? We start with the cipher key. And actually, let me show you this sample here real quick. This is the prior worksheet the students did. The students would have to solve this one, right? But now I give it to you as a worksheet, and I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. If those of you that are in pen testing, you realize the debacle we had with assignment 9. Just because this is not a graded assignment, does that mean you should do it? Because I can guarantee you jump right into the actual assignment, you're going to mess it up. At least if you walk through at least a portion of this, hey, my numbers are working out. I'm obviously doing the right math. Okay, a lot of people don't. Trust me. From the last assignment, I would say okay. A very large percentage did not do Metasploit Part 1. They didn't. Especially when I got an email 7:30 last night, the last day of the 4 weeks they had to work on it, asked me where to download Kali from. Had 4 weeks. You're waiting to 3 hours before it's due. So, okay, let's continue on. But basically, we have what's called the state. We take this word here, this word, this example word right here, convert it to hex, and you get this word, you put it in right here. Then I give you the cipher key, and then you have to go through the S box, and basically, I'm going to go through these slides in a minute here, but you take the cipher key and the round key, and you're creating the key from up here, and I'll show you how this works. But when you do this assignment in class, please at least walk through some of it. This round key is kind of critical in only one area, but make sure you walk through that area. Then you take the state, which is the result of that. Actually, the state's right there at the top. But you take the state and you XOR it. Let's talk about what XOR is real quick. Because I don't know who's had what. So if I have a 1, 1, 0, 1, 0. 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay. XOR is one or the other, but not both. So 1 and 1 gives me what? 0. Because it's one or the other, but not both. Since they're both 1, the result is a 0. So the next one is a 1 and a 0. So what do we get? 1. Since it's one or the other, so we get a 1. Now here they're both zeros. 0. 0. 1. Very critical you understand XOR. It's used extensively. It's actually used in all of them. But AES.
Wait, one or the other, whenever. Why is the third? Why would that fourth one be 0 then?
They're just both the same. They're both 1s.
Then how does both zeros not equal 1 then?
One or the other, but not both. Because it has to be one or the other. One or the other has to be a 1. Does that sound better? One or the other has to be a 1.
Okay.
Does that sound better?
Both equal 0.
Must.
Is this the Boolean?
Yes. So one or the other must be a 1, but not both. So in other words, they're both 1s, we get a 0. We have one or the other, we get a 1. One or the other, we get a 1 here. Since we have 2 that are zeros, we get a 0, and 2 that are 1s, we get a 0. That's how it works. Now, I'm going to show you something here that's going to help your life, but it could also cause you great pain. Explain why. Inside of Windows Calculator, there's a programmer option. Okay? You can take this programmer option and XOR. For instance, let's XOR. See this 43 and the 45? See the top left ones? 43. So if I went in here and did, okay, is this hex or decimal first?
Hex.
It's in hex. Make sure you're in hex. 43 XOR 45, you get 6. 0, 6, very good point. It's not just 6, it's 0, 6. So if you give me 6, technically 0, 6, and 6 are the same thing, but we need 2 digits. It's critical we need 2 digits.
Well, that's X, right?
Right, yes, it's 2 digits. Because how do I know if you just give me 6, you didn't just leave off the other digit? But you know, just put 2 digits there. So you can use a calculator for the majority of this assignment. The majority.
But then when you get,
Not for all of them. It will not work for all of them. Okay. So going from state to state 1, simple. 43, XOR 45, we get the number. Everybody okay with that?
Oh, you're converting the binary to those across, right?
Yeah, I did 43 and 45 gives me 6. So 6F and AD would give me 30, C2. Now, this other one, you have to use the S box, which we'll look at here in a second, because I can't do that one without the S box. Shift rows, again, I'll show you that here in a second. This is matrix multiplication. This is where it gets hairy. And I'm going to walk through this. That's where I'm going to spend the majority of the time here tonight. But then once you get state 4, again, it's just another XOR and you're finished. So that's like pretty simple stuff, okay? So I give you this worksheet. It is critical you work through this. It will save your life. Because if you don't, you're going to have issues, okay?
The worksheets you handed out, we don't have step 2. We just start straight.
Oh, I think I only gave you the matrix multiplication page, didn't I? Well, I mean, the rest of them are up there on the Cipher Club page, but I gave you the one I'm going to talk most about tonight.
On the first question, do you have still to do multiplication after you convert the sentence to?
What's the first question?
It says, given the string, whatever, determine the value for the state.
Right, I give you a word, like computerize 1357. You run it through here, and then that's it.
That's it?
That's it. Like C, let's find C. Where's C? See the C right here? Is 4, 3. It's 43. I'm positive. Let's look at the 7. So
we don't do the multiplication.
not in here.
on the first.
The first
No, you just
question
convert
is convert the word to
Yeah.
75. So CO. This is case sensitive. So the O, the small O right down here at the bottom is 66F. See that? Small O, 6F. Oh, it's down. Sorry. Down. She had me freaking out there for a second. I'm like, what's going on? It's down. It goes down. Okay, good point though. So the O, the small O, is in this 6F box. Okay? Yeah, I should have printed them all out, but I didn't want to waste a ton of trees. The other part I gave you is this. This will save your life when it comes to AES multiplication.
So does that change, or will that always be the same?
This will always be the same. But these values right here are these values.
And same with Archon. Archon will always be
Yes.
0, 1,
0,
0,
0,
0,
yes,
0,
always the same. Never changes. So this matrix right here never changes. But I just didn't put this on my sheet. I went with this. So in other words, 0, 1 is actually 02. So 1 is 0, 2. 5 is actually 0, 1. See how they match up? So number 13 is actually 0, 3. Y'all see that? I just couldn't, it's the only way I could get them to fit on a worksheet. So basically, the way matrix multiplication works is you take A times 1, XOR that with B times 2. So you're taking this left column times this top row. This entire left column times this entire top row just to get this one value.
How you do the rest? 'Cause that's what I got.
Okay, now I'm going to walk through the PowerPoint a little bit. Again, I don't want to go through the beginning stuff because we don't really have time for all that, okay? But you can look through this, and when you do use this PowerPoint, it's critical you play the PowerPoint. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see. Like, when we start here, I'm going to start on this slide here. This will actually move for you. You'll actually see where the numbers come in. Okay, and then when you get onto this part, it'll actually do the math, and it'll show you that value goes there, then so on and so forth. So follow the numbers along, okay? Yeah, you really need to walk through this, okay? And the whole sub-byte part, pretty simple here. You take those numbers, become those. So B2, where's B?
What is this, sub-bytes for ants?
2 becomes,
37.
hold on,
Next one over.
this one. B, where's that? B?
37.
There it is, okay. B2 becomes 37, because there's the B and there's the 2. B2 becomes 37, and that's where you get this 37. Yes.
Yeah.
Watch.
It tells you on the thing, it says first hex number, second hex number.
Yeah, it literally says it right here on the side. It's opposite from the other page. Okay. Then shift rows, we do that. Then the next row, watch what happens. The 56 shifts over one. It basically wraps. Then this one will shift by 2.
Which direction does it shift, I mean, on that chart?
From the front to the back.
Yeah, the front to the back, exactly. And then I explained it better in the recording from the actual class,
Yeah.
but I really just want to focus on matrix multiplication in this lecture. But yeah, I do go through it extremely detailed on the class lecture. All right, so now let's talk about matrix multiplication. So we're going to take that column multiplied times that row to get one value. Okay? Just like I showed in that this thing right here. This whole entire row, I'm sorry, column, this is a column. This whole column times this whole row just gets me that one value. So it's A times 1 XORed with B times 2, C times 3, D times 4. So this column times this row gets me this one value. Then this column times this row gets this value. This column times this row gives me this value. This column times this row. That's why I made this chart. It's critical you follow this chart. Okay?
So the first row,
The first column times the top row.
The first, and then the first column, second number times the second row.
Yes.
First column, third number times the third row.
Yes.
First column, fourth number times the
Yes.
row.
Man, I need exact color.
That's what you have to do.
Yep.
I gotta
So-
buy a big old pack of color pencils for this.
Okay, but I give you this thing. It just makes it so much easier to figure out exactly what goes in what block. All right, now let's come back to the PowerPoint. All right. How do I get, resume slideshow? Okay. So that's just what I said, you know, how to get each value. But I'm going to show you the math behind it. It's a lot of math, but none of the math is difficult. So with matrix multiplication, this is important. Okay. We have 8 bits. Everything we're working with is in 8 bits, basically. So if I have the value of 37, and I want to multiply it times 2, okay, how do we do that? Okay, now 37 times 2 and 49 times 3, so on and so forth. Again, this is using that chart in the middle. You follow my thing, that goes perfectly. You get all that. Now 37, if you want to know where that came from, and it's actually on this worksheet, it's right there. It's just binary. I give you that, so you really can't mess that one up. Okay, you can. So there's 37. So what we did is we converted 37 to binary. Then we convert 2 to binary. Then we take this little chart up here at the top, and we put these numbers underneath it. Okay? So if you notice with 37, if we put them underneath it, we have 0, 0, 1, 1. Actually, where's my pencil? we're going to go with n. So we end up with 0, 0,
X5.
1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Y'all agree with that? That's 37.
Yeah.
So what is it? How many x to the 7s do I have?
0.
0. How many x to the 6s?
0.
0. How many x to the 5s?
1.
1. How many x to the 4s? 1. So you notice we have 1x to the 5, 1x to the 4. How many x to the 3s? 0. Then we have an x to the 2, we have an x, and we have a 1. That's all we're doing. So far, so good? Everybody with me? Okay. And 2, remember, that's all zeros, then 0, 0, 1, 0. So if I was, I'm not going to write it all out, but it's basically just the 1 right here. That's a 2. Y'all agree with that? Okay. So obviously that's just x. So what we need to do is multiply this by this. So how do we do that? Now let's look. So x to the 5th times x to the 4th. Now you're a math teacher. It should be easy for you. X squared, x and 1. So basically x to the 5th times x is x to the 6th. You just increment it by 1.
Yeah.
All you're doing. X to the 5th times x becomes x to the 6th. So x to the 4th times x becomes x to the 5th. X squared times x becomes x to the 3rd. X times x,
Becomes x squared.
x squared. And 1 times x
Becomes x.
is x.
Or 1x.
Well, so now we take that and put it back up here again. Okay? So x to the 6th is a 0. And x to the 5th is a 1. 1, 0. I'm off by 1, sorry.
Ooh.
I was off by 1.
Yeah, lots of-
It's 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. I'm off by 1 again. Crap. Sorry. 0, 1, 1, 0. That's why I hated writing it up there to begin with. 1, 1, 1, 0. And it basically comes out to 60.
So can I take a calculator and multiply 37 by 02 in hex, and then I'll get 60?
Let's try it. So we want to do 37,
I'll make sure it's at the x. Okay, it is.
it's on x, times,
It's on the right.
Okay.
couldn't find it for a second, times 2.
It's 0, 2.
Dude, look at that. So much easier, isn't it? Use a calculator?
Well,
But it will not work every time.
Wait, it's not working.
It will work for everyone with the exception of the Glois field. And you ain't gonna work without it. So you can check this, but I'm gonna show you how to do the Glois field in a second. Is everybody okay? How we got 60 out of all that? No problems there? Okay. So we take 49 times 3. Well, let's look at this math. Now we have 2 digits here. So again, that becomes x to the 7th,
Oh, goody.
x to the 4th, and x. There's 7, 4th, and x. Then we got to do the 1. So what is 1 times x to the 6th?
X to 6.
X to the 6th.
X to 6.
1 times x third.
X
So
to
basically it's
1.
itself.
Yeah.
1 times 1 is 1. Very good. Okay. Then we add them up. So we end up with an x to the 7th, x to the 6th, x to the 4th, x. So we end up with the, so what number do we get without looking? We end up with a, what do we get?
Zeros and zeros.
It's too hard. Well, we'll just look. Goes into that way. So basically 1, 1. So there's our 7. There's our 6th. We do not have an x to the 5th, so that becomes a 0. We do have an x to the 4th. We do have an x to the 3rd. We do not have an x squared, but we do have an x and we have no 1. That becomes dB. That's on the other sheet. It shows you the binary for that. Easy enough on that?
So is that the Boyle still?
No.
No.
Oh, no, 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 no. Let's do an exercise.
This is right there.
Okay. Let me show you dB. So 1101, 1011. Look at this sheet right here.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, I don't understand how you did the multiplication. Got we ended up with,
Okay, do you see how I got this right here?
that's what I don't understand.
Okay.
How you got that.
I took this times this and got this. Do you agree with that? That means no. Okay,
Okay, yeah, I see it.
so x times x to the 6 becomes x to the 7.
I got it.
You got that now?
Yeah,
Then we just put them in order. And then if you look back at this page here, if you took that chart, x to the 7, 6, and you just plugged them in underneath it, you end up getting that. Because we had the 7th and the 6th, we did not have a 5th, that's why we put a 0 there. That make sense?
so did you just like rearrange that?
Yeah, you just rearrange them in order,
He put
that's
them in
all.
order. He put them in.
Oh, okay.
So I just put the 6 here, move the 4th over. I just put them in order, that's all I did.
One.
Okay, that's what I.
Oh, okay, yeah. This is out of order, so we just put them in order, that's all we did.
Can you do them out? Can you do them out of order?
No,
The biggest one was the.
right, the biggest,
one.
the 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that's what it is. So, and you really don't technically have to put them in order. Think about it. If I just have that chart, x 7, 6, 5, do I have an x to the 7? Good, put a 1 there. Do I have an x to the 6? Let's just look at this top column only. We're only looking at this. So I could literally take that chart, put a 1 under x to the 7, a 1 under x to the 4th, a 1 under x, 1 under x to the 6th, and 1 under x to the 3rd, and 1. Fill in the rest with zeros. So you don't technically have to put them in order. It just makes it easier to understand. Okay, let's do that, since I see some slight confusion. Okay, we want x to the 7th, x to the 6th, x to the 5, x to the 4, x to the 3, x2, x, and 1. Okay, let me hear it so far. So without going in order, we're just going to look just at that one right there. What I could do is say, okay, I got an x to the 7th. I got an x to the 4th, x to the 1, an x.
He's going to.
I'm going through an x to the 6th. Oops, sorry, don't hit tab. X to the 3rd, and a 1. Then fill in the rest with zeros. So technically, I do not have to put them in order. I just do that. It just makes it
a
easier.
lot of time.
You see how I did that? Okay. Yeah, please ask questions. That's why we're doing this tonight. All right.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, like on this here, I just did that, and I got the same output from what I input.
Well, I don't know what you're asking. Sorry.
So so say like FE.
Okay.
I worked the math out, and the answer that I got from that was FE. It's FE and 0, 2.
Okay, let me write that one. FE.
Get your answers?
I got the same. I got
Now the
FE.
next column.
So
So saying FE and 0, 2.
and 0, 2.
Okay, let's walk through FE and 0, 2, okay? It's a very good question. So what is F in binary? What's,
One.
okay, F. Let's verify that by looking at our little chart here. Okay, so FE. I'm going to make this so we can see it all at the top of the screen. All right, so what we want to see is FE and what?
FE and 0, 2.
Okay, so let's do FE and F. We know by looking at the chart right at the top of the page is all ones. So 1, 1, 1, 1. Y'all agree with that?
Yes.
And E is 1, 1, 1, 1, 0. We all agree that's FE.
Yep.
F is right here. E is right here. All right, so we end up with x to the 7th, x to the 6th, x to the 5, x to the 4, x to the 3, x squared, and x. So far, so good?
Yep.
Times,
0, 0, 1, 0.
so what is 2?
2 is 0, 0, 1, 0.
Let's find out. What is 2?
X.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. Y'all agree that's 2? I'm getting it right from here. I'm making sure we all follow all the
So then
steps.
it's, so then it's a big 1, 1, 1.
So that gives me X, correct?
Yep.
So I multiply these, and what do I get?
You get 1.
Yeah.
X to the 8th,
X2, X3, X4,
X to the 7th, X to the 6th, no, I'm sorry, 6th, X to the 5th, X to the 4th, X third, X squared.
That's it.
Okay. So,
Is that what you're gonna use
do
the?
we got a problem here?
Yeah.
So how does that fit?
That's what you're gonna use the
5.
the gap.
Okay. Y'all see how this ain't gonna fit? I cannot take this right here and put it in there. It's too big. How do I make that work? Let's try in the calculator. FE times 0.2, 1 FC. Obviously, that's not a problem. I mean, that's not going to work. So if you do this and you get that, it's too big. Do you all agree? Because it's only 2 digits. So how do I make this thing work? Well, let's figure out how. Let's go back to the slides. Okay. So this is just walking through the same things. Okay. Well, what happens? Come on. Okay. This is what we need. Let's talk about it. So if I took E7 and 0.3, so here's E7 and 0.3. Everybody see that? Everybody okay with it? So if I multiply them, I get E7 and 0.3. So I end up with X to the 8th, X to the 7th, X to the 6th, X third, X squared, and X, which is right there, plus X to the 7th, X to the 6th, X to the 5th, X squared, X and 1. Because every number times 1 is itself. Sound right so far? So I add that times that and get that. I don't know the term for this, maybe Sandy does. But what we do now is we cross out the duplicates. You just do, I don't know why. I don't teach math, sorry. I cross out all the duplicates.
Okay.
So what am I left with? I'm left with that. Okay. Well, that number's too big. It will not fit in our fancy dancy notepad document here. If I'm going to go into this document and I'm going to put that number in there, how am I can't put X to the 8th. So we use the Glois field. Okay. So now we XOR those numbers together. Okay. So we take them, convert them to binary, and XOR them. So what do we get? What happens? So X to the 8th and X to the 8th become 0. You agree? Well, I think I do. Yeah, I do them on top of each other over here. Okay. So what do we end up getting? 0, 0. God, I suck at drawing. We get a 1 there. We get a 1 there. 0, 0, 1, 0. Is everybody good with that? David.
Where are you saying that you're what are you XORing from?
I XORed the results of this
Okay.
with this.
So that the
Oh,
voice
voice
field
field.
always stays the same.
Glois field never changes.
Okay.
Glois field, do not XOR yourself. I've seen someone do that before. Because it kind of looks like you're XORing yourself. You're not. You're XORing the Glois field. Glois field never changes. So let's go back to your answer over here, the one you asked me. So we take this, we bring down my Glois field, just X to the 8th, X to the 4th, X to the 3rd, X and 1. Okay? That's what we got. So if we XOR these together, okay, what's this end up being? This is 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm missing one, aren't I? Is that right? 1, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Missing one.
I'm missing a 1. 2, X, 1. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all I did was I converted this to binary. Do we all agree with that? Follow me, David?
Is that the one that you took after you got rid of stuff? Or
No, this is just this one here. We just,
Okay, okay.
no, I went back to his example.
How did you get it in binary? What
I just put ones underneath it. Because remember, we took x to the 7 times x, we got x to the 8.
Okay.
Okay, remember, we took this number here
times the x.
times the x. So we got x to the 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I just put a 1 underneath the x's. Okay, x to the 8. The way you convert to binary is it's always a 1 underneath. So technically, this is just a 1 because I have 1 there, and this is a 1 there. 1. I'm just lining them up. That's all I'm doing.
Okay, so you're putting then
But remember, this should have been an x and a 1, but we don't have an x and a 1 up here. Okay? The reason we don't have an x and a 1 is because we had an x to begin with, but x times x made it x squared.
Yeah.
So I don't have an x and I don't have a 1.
Okay.
All right? Move that over, make sure we look better. So far, so good?
Yeah.
So now I need my Goyes field, which is this guy. So we have an x to the 8th. Do we have an x to the 7th?
No.
An x to the 6th? How about a 5?
No.
How about a 4?
Yes.
You have one. How about a 3?
Yes.
How about 2?
No.
How about an x?
No. Or yes. Yes, we have an X.
Oh, we have an x.
We have
How about a 1?
Yes.
You all agree that's the Goyes field converted?
Yep.
So now we're going to, I'm just moving, copying them down here. So we should end up with what?
Zero.
XOR those, right?
One.
XOR.
1. So 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1.
Three.
You agree? So we end up, what is 1110? 1110 happens to be an E.
E.
E and 0111? 7. Sound right? Yes?
And so, and then that goes to that first.
No. That,
Is just the first part of.
because remember, to get AA, we did this, we did A times 1 XOR'd with B times 2. We only did A times 1 so far.
Okay.
All we did was A times 1. You keep that result. Then you go B times 2. So what if B was a 1B? We'll use 1B as an example. And let's go with what's in that position?
0, 3.
0, 3. So what if we went with 1B and 0, 3? Everybody see? So for B, let's put that over here. Let's move down. For B equals 1B and 2 equals 0, 3. Is that correct? Everybody agree with me? That's correct. I picked 1B, but 0, 2 is correct off the homework. Let's make sure.
Yes.
Yep, 0, 3. Because that comes off that position. Okay. So let's do those two. So what is 1b times 03? That's what we need to do. Okay, so 1 is tough.
0, 0, 1.
Man, this guy's a genius. So, like it shows, right? I'm gonna make this so I can see it all at the same time. So 1b, we know 1 is 0, 0, 0, 1, and b is 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay? And 3 is
0, 0, 1.
0, 0, 1, 1.
So there's what the zeros in front of it.
You have to put the zeros in front of it. Okay. So what is 1b? 765, so it's x to the 4th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd,
X to the, or X. And then 1.
remember, this is a 7, 6, 5, so no 7, 6, or 5s. So we have a 4 and a 3, we have no 2s, then we have an x and a 1. See all? How did I get that? I just plugged it in right here. Let me go put those in there for you. There's a 1 over there somewhere. See? That's how I converted it. So we ended up with an x to the 4th, an x to the 3rd, an x and a 1. So far, so good? Everyone with me? All right. So now we need to do what? We need to do 03. So what's 03?
X and 1.
X
Well, X
plus
X
1. Okay? So far, so good? So what is the result when we multiply those two together?
X5,
X to the 5 plus
4,
x to the 4
X
plus x squared
plus
x. So we're still, okay, I'm still on the first x. Is that all of the x? So does that one totally finish now?
Yeah.
So that's 5, 4, 2, and x. Plus x to the 4
X to 3.
plus x to the 3 plus x plus 1. No, we don't on this one. Okay, so what do we end up with? Because we get rid of the duplicates. X to the 5th, we get rid of the 4s. We need an x to the 3rd.
X squared.
And get rid of the
Oh,
X's.
this is gonna get rid of X. 1.
So x to the 5th, we get rid of the 4s, there's 2 of those.
Yeah.
We only have 1x squared, so we use that. We have 1x squared, we use that. We had 2 x's, so we got a 1.
Wait, okay, so I have the x to the 4, x to the 5, x to the 4, x to the 2 from the top, from the,
You have all this from the x.
and
Then you bring down the whole equation again.
okay, so,
Because when you do anything times 1 is itself,
right, so that's x4, x3,
x and 1.
x and 1. Okay. So then you're taking the doubles away, where are you getting the doubles from?
Well, we had duplicates, not
Okay,
doubles.
duplicates.
See how I have 2x to the 4s?
Okay.
Delete both.
So there, and then you have 2x, well, that's it.
Yeah, well, we have 2 x's.
Yeah, 2, okay.
So get rid of the 2 x's.
2x's.
So we end up with an x to the 4th, an x squared, an x to the 3rd, and a 1.
X to the 5th?
Well, x to the 5th first. We have an x to the 5th, an x squared, an x to the 3rd, and a 1. We just put them in order here, that's all. So far, so good? All right. So what does that become? So we have an x to the 7th, x to the 6th, x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x squared, x, and 1. See how I did that?
Yeah.
Let me do that again in case anyone missed.
Okay, so
We have x to the 7th,
7th.
x to the 6th, we have an x to the 5th,
We don't have one for the 4th.
x to the 4th,
We have one for the 3rd.
x to the 3rd,
One for the 2nd.
x squared,
We don't have an x.
no x,
A 1.
and we have 1.
And then that is converted to.
That would be 2.
Yep, so it ends up being 0, 0, 1, 0, which is 2, 2, and 1, 1, 0, D,
D.
2D. So now we have 2 of our values. So now we have, what was our first one we had?
EF.
Where did I write that? Didn't I write that somewhere?
It's right there. Right underneath EF. Or E7, sorry.
Oh, okay. So E7 XORed with 2D.
So then you XOR,
E7 and 2D.
E7 2D.
Then you gotta, now we got half of it. So we're halfway to the first value. Okay,
Oh, well,
are we okay?
yeah, we're not. I was just trying to follow along on the worksheet. Or did you?
I picked different numbers.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So then you do that same thing for this one is FD 01. Do that same thing and you get that value of whatever it is. And then the same thing with 7B 01.
okay, so you wanna do FD. FD times what?
FD times 01.
Okay, FD and 01. Everybody okay with doing FD and 01? Gotta do this quickly. So F is 1, 1, 1, 1. D is 1, 1, 0, 1. Which gives us x to the 7th plus x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus x to the 5th plus x to the 4 plus x to the 3rd plus x squared plus 1. Everybody see how I did that?
Yep.
Okay.
01.
Any number times 1 is what?
1.
So the answer of FD times 01 is FD. We don't have to do it. It's the same. It's itself. FD times 01, I don't care if it's hex, decimal, binary, it's still FD. I don't even need, actually, I didn't need to convert it at all. Because it just is. So now we have 3 of the numbers we need.
Why can't you just make them all 01s?
See, when someone made AES, they said, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. They wanted to put it wrong.
Okay, let me pick the last digit, the last test. Let's do, how about 7B? Is that a good choice, David?
Yeah, 7B, but it's 01, so it's 7B.
Is that 01? So what is the 4th one? So it would be,
The 4th one on this list is 7B and 01.
so 7B then, yeah, okay. So the answer is 7. So 7B times 01 equals 7B. So now what are our 4 values? We have, where did we start with? We had E7. So E7, was it 2D was the next one? 2D, and then FD, then 7B. Let's try this in the calculator. E7, XOR 2D, XOR FD, XOR 7B. And we get 4C, which is correct.
Hey, can you do 1B times 03 in the calculator?
1B times 03. We did that one.
Yeah, but we got 2D. I don't know why it's different.
We got the correct. That's why I said the calculator is not always right. It's not. But it's the 03 causes issues with it. The 03 causes it. It just will not always work.
So not only will it be wrong when there's a voice, but also randomly.
It sucks. Yeah. There's a reason why, and I don't remember exactly what it is.
Is it like because of multiplication?
It's got to be, hex can only hold a certain amount. It starts overloading, basically. I don't know what it's called. If only we had a math teacher sitting here. It overflowed. But,
And so now to do the next row, you do next column, second row.
correct.
Yeah. And then do the same step for everything.
Yeah.
And that gets you the second number.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Just for that question.
Yeah.
Just that question. So if I was thinking about putting one on a test,
All these together.
this would be awesome.
And
wouldn't it?
also, I think number
It give you 18 minutes.
number
That's it.
2.
18 seconds.
Number 2.
I wouldn't be that mean. I wouldn't be that mean.
Number 2 was confusing to me.
What was the question? Oh, the Archon?
Yeah, I worked.
Let's talk about the Archon for a second. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to the PowerPoint here. I'm gonna go backwards to the Archon, if I can get back to it. Oh, come on. That would have been easier to just start over, since I went to the beginning anyway. So we see shift up, then we go to S box. Did we do it at Archon yet? There it is. Okay. Let's walk through the Archon. Okay. So in this example, we're going to 3793 and the Archon of 01. Okay. First thing we do is we take 37 XOR 93. No problem there, I'm assuming. Y'all can do that all day long now. You can even do that with a calculator. Okay. Then we take 01. We XOR those. And it's not multiplication, so we can't just keep the result. So we XOR 37 and 93. Then we XOR that result with 1, and we get A5. Okay. That goes in that first block. Okay. So now we're going to XOR 89 in the F. Then do we have to XOR that result with 0? No, it won't adjust it at all. So really, it's only that first one you need to worry about. Understand? So if we did 89 in EF, we would get 66. And if you want to verify in the calculator, you can. 89 in EF, 89 XOR EF, 66.
Okay, so for each level, do you XOR? Is it only that very first row, the very first column?
Yes.
That you XOR?
Yes. You do not use the XOR over and over and over and over again. One time only.
So that very first number.
That's it. Let's walk through this. So then we do 3F XORed with the AE, we get 91.
This number. Which would be that number. Is the only one that you use the Archon for.
Okay, we're not done yet. The 6C XOR 17, we get a 12. Okay. And then, because that's when we just created. We just created that, okay, with the Archon. Then we take the second column XORed with this, but we don't bring in the Archon. We only use the Archon for that first column, like you said. We don't ever use it again. Okay, so that the first column stays there. That one's going to become the second column. There's that one. And if you did use the Archon for each one, you're going to have a lot of problems.
What does Archon stand for? That's okay.
Round console? I don't know.
So, can you tell why it's one, just the first one?
Because that's what the instructions say. You know, actually,
I'm not in the class. so
that's
I-
actually a good question, because when you do take the class, we talk about DES and how it was built on secrecy. And they're still to the point, say, it's like, why did they do that? They just did it. So Rijendahl, whenever he created this, he just did that. That you don't always know why.
Oh, okay.
And, it's not based on secrecy, and he probably had a reason why he did that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's one of those things that it's just,
It works.
it's the rule, so you follow it. Yes.
I have a quick question. So if I work on question one and I'm done with question one, so I don't have to basically still be dependent on that first question.
No. Okay, that's actually a very good point. Let me
That's why I'm getting confused.
let me expand upon that a little bit. Okay. This worksheet I showed you here. In the past, this is what I gave the students. You would take this word, you would create this, then that result goes, and you create the Archon, then that result, and what happens is each step kept building on the next step.
So we don't have that on this.
Right. And the reason I stopped doing that was, can you imagine if up here at the very beginning, if you screwed up the first step, you're going to screw it all the way through. So now, for the way it works now, is you get a,
So the first question is by itself, basically.
Right. and the second question, you're starting with all brand new values.
You are giving us the-
Right, I tell you, this is state 2, now make state 3. Then forget the rest. This is state 3, now make state 4. Okay, yeah, it's very different, and I can, if you want to show you what we're talking, let me log in D2L real quick. I wonder if there's a way I can see that. Let's see. I'm not teaching it this, am I teaching? I'm teaching the summer, aren't I? Hold on, I might be able to show you. Is there a way to pause this recording just in case it shows? Yeah, I'll be right back in this recording. All right, I'm showing you a preview of what the quiz will look like. It's different for each student. Okay, it comes up and I can say state. Given the string, I am happy, determine the values of state. So what you would do would be, you would take this practice worksheet and this table. So instead of computerized 1357, you're going to do I am happy. Okay. Oops, and then go over here. So that's what you're going to put in there. Whatever value end up for AA, which in that case would be 43 in this case, and AB, BB, and so on and so forth. That's what you put in these blocks. I couldn't find an easier way to get you to enter 16 values except this way. Okay, so that's the end of question 1. And for question 2, given this key, you don't have to create the key. I gave it to you, and the Archon. Count that. Okay. Then for question 3, given the state right here, this is not I am happy. This is something else. Given this state and this key, basically XORM and whatever that is. So what this does for you is now you can totally screw up one section and you don't fail the rest of the test. Because I had people that right at the very beginning, and it's like, it's a ripple effect. It just screws up everything. So this way, you know what? I totally screwed matrix multiplication, but I got extras fine. So you can still pass. All right? Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to exit this preview. All right. So that's a real quick. Now, up under my YouTube recordings. Y'all know where to find all these YouTube recordings?
Yeah.
My AS, there's like 4 or 5 years of AES recordings up there. Every year I discuss it a little bit different. I think the first year even has Raymond giving it. So, yeah, go watch them. And like I was telling Brian earlier, I don't teach this class this semester, but I am in the summer and the fall. You can come and see me. You can actually come and see me for any class. All I ask is you try to get with your professor. But like Virginia's not teaching in class this semester. So I don't mind helping you. But no, I'm not going to do all of it. But your professor is always your first point. But I don't mind helping you. Just, I don't want to do all of it for you. But if you email them, sometimes I'm like 230 emails behind right now. My plan of getting caught up last week didn't work. It was a massive failure. So, everybody okay on a little bit about AES? Brian, a little bit? Not Brian. David?
Yes.
A little bit better? Brian, a little bit
I
better?
understand the whole,
Okay.
Porteous field.
What's your question? Go.
I still don't understand why that 1B times 0.3 doesn't work, because if we convert it to decimal, it's only 27 times 3, which comes up to 81, which isn't going to overflow it, because it doesn't overflow.
Well, let's look at it again. This is the 1. And this is 3. Is that 3?
0, 0, 1, 1.
Did I do the wrong one on this sheet? What do I have on there?
You had 1, 0.
Oh, I did times 3. This is 3. No? Did I do it wrong? 1B. Okay, 1, we know what 1 is. It's just a 1. Oh, this is a B. Duh. That's B.
Yes.
Let's make sure. 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay. So we have X to the 4th. Because we have 7, 6, 5. So we end up with a 4 and a 3 and an X and a 1. Okay?
I just don't understand why the calculator answer doesn't.
I don't know. And it was funny because the first, literally up until 2 years ago, I never did it with a calculator. A student pointed out that it works. But if you listen to some of my older recordings, you'll hear about Grant Cadis. Grant was notorious for, I got this awesome, it works perfect one time. Or it works perfect maybe once. Because he would, the whole thing, what about this number? Oh, it doesn't work for that one. I don't know why. I really don't. But like I think I was telling David earlier today, no, I was telling you, Brian, really these numbers are bigger and much, we're using really small stuff and it really causes, especially with knapsack and stuff like that, because it's really a one-way hashing algorithm. But in the world, so some of our numbers will work backwards. It's just because we're using crappy little teeny tiny 2-digit numbers. If you're using a 200-digit number, it's going to work fine. So, and I really, one of the students, actually, I guess in the fall I changed it. A student basically said, "I'm sorry, I cannot complete your homework assignments. These are not large prime numbers." So you really want to do a homework assignment with a 200-digit number? No, you couldn't. That would suck. So that's why I use small numbers. But I don't know why. It's the way it works. And I checked it. That is the right answer. So 2D is the right result. I don't know why it works sometimes, but it's 03 screws it up almost every time. I don't know exactly why. Okay. There's actually even a couple of 02s that'll screw it up. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, but literally 2 years ago, I never even tried it with a calculator until one of the students says, "Oh, but look, it works fine with a calculator, but it doesn't work every time with the calculator." So it's the Grant Cadis again. Watch Grant listen to this someday. It was him and Kyle Cook both did that. It was, Kyle would write a very elaborate program to solve everything. Just didn't work all the time. It just worked once in a while.
So these were students here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, very, 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 very smart. Both of them were just,
Sounds like it.
yeah, they were really sharp. Kyle kind of reminds me of Roy. He wants to write a program for everything. I mean, even Roy. Roy created AES in Excel. The entire algorithm in Excel. That's how I create all these assignments. Because I don't have to do it all by hand. I can literally punch a number in Excel, does it all for me. He did it. Roy did all that. And then I went back and fixed all the mess ups. Because I started using it, and the student's like, "Why'd you mark that wrong?" I'm like, "Because it's wrong." "No, it's right." I'm like, "Are you serious?" So that's why if you look at my sheet that I created them with, it says created by Roy, fixed by Ken. So it was the same way with Grant and Kyle. I mean, I love when people do stuff like that. But, the forensics assignment, the online password crack one, we all use Telnet. Some of you probably have bad memories of that assignment. originally when Roy created that, he randomly generated all the usernames for me, the email addresses, but he used characters in there that were not valid. So even though it was the correct username and password, it wouldn't log into Telnet. So literally, I had all these students, doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, that's right. No, it doesn't. I'm like, oh, because of invalid characters. So I had to go back and adjust it to remove all the invalid characters. So I don't know. But yeah, I've had a lot of students like that. I mean, it's good. I would love to see all of you write programs that do all this stuff. I wrote a Java. Hell, I'll even share the Java program if you want it. I'll give it to you. It does all the way up to the GUI field, and that's where I stopped, and I just didn't finish it. I mean, when it does DES, I'll share it if you want it. Yeah. I mean, like DES, I got one, all those DES assignments y'all did, I got a Java program that does all that instantly for you. And I mean, it's nice. It's modular and everything. It's nice little mod methods involved. There's a little bit of commenting on it and everything. But yeah, if you get with me tomorrow, I send those tonight. I have no problem sharing with you. Because again, there's only so many comments, so I don't want 85 emails. What does this line do? Figure it out. Okay. I'm sure Brian can figure it out in a second. Literally, I was right up to the GUIs field. I was working on one to do, was it the knapsack? Or frequency analysis. I don't know. I start a lot of them. I just don't ever finish them all. It's kind of like this company, Sergeant Grits. I used to take care of all of his stuff. His accounting software sucked. So I real quickly wrote him a new one. I think I wrote it in C++. What's the C#? Some language. I don't even know at this point. I wrote it for him. He's like, oh, that's amazing. So he's like, could you make it do this? I said, sure. So I went and modified it, made it do this. That's absolutely amazing. You can make it do this. So I did this. But then they got to the point where, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what? I'm not writing a full-blown accounting system for you. At that point, I told him I had to go out and buy one.
Does he still have his website?
He actually sold it. The dude, let me show you who I'm talking about. Some of you might know who he is.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's still up. But I happened to be looking one day at Google Maps, and it showed out of business. I'm like, what do you mean out of business? So I messaged him. He goes, yeah, they gave me an offer that's too good to pass up. The dude he sells T-shirts, bumper stickers, okay? Like if you went to wherever T-shirts is on here, there's this has changed a lot. But he sells everything in here. Well, let me find, well, there's T-shirts right there. His original T-shirts on here somewhere. But this guy, he was an accountant by trade. He was in Vietnam, so he wrote a shirt. It was basically showed all of something in, like, I don't know if it was towns or places he was at, all these different places in Vietnam. He started selling it. He sold it in a book. And then I made his first website. Actually, I didn't make his first. Somebody else made his first website, which was a PowerPoint slide. Literally a PowerPoint slide converted to a picture and put on a website. That was all it was. So I converted, and I actually wrote the first software that ran his first shopping cart. And I screwed up, and I charged him $500. If I had only charged him like 1%, the dude 2 years ago made $9 million selling this stuff. Wow. $9 million. Then the last year, he's like, I couldn't pass it up. It was too good to pass up, so we sold out. But the problem with, see, Marines, I don't know if, I'm probably Air Force. Basically, you get out of the Air Force, you're out of the Air Force. You never get out of the Marines. I don't know if you know that. Once a Marine, always a Marine, yeah. It's different, but he needed if you know in the military, they got those ribbons. Well, there was a big deal. What order they go in? So I even wrote him an ASP script for his website that when the Marine would select the ribbons they wanted, it would actually generate a graphic of the exact proper order to put them in, to put on their uniform. So they could buy the ribbons from him, and then, because that was a big issue. Which ribbon goes first, which one goes second, does this one go, is it 3 per line, or 2, or 5, or whatever? So I wrote that for him. So I wrote a lot of applications for a lot of people. Yeah, I don't finish a lot of them. I wrote one called Buy Cards for rupture pin technology. Are they still there? Let's see if they're still there. Yeah, they're still there. This should be over on Council Road. Yep, rupture pin technology. They had all this stuff that needed to be, they did it all on paper. And it sucked. I mean, they would literally have invoices on paper, then they'd have to go back and manually go through all this paper. So I wrote one where they could literally scan it straight into the computer, it would OCR it, and then it became fully searchable. They could automate the entire thing, and it was awesome. But then the guy died that I worked with, and then they just, I don't know where, the company's still making tons of money. But I don't know where they went from that point. I stopped working for them. But it's just, I worked for a lot of different companies. Yeah, this guy, Julian Taylor, hence Taylor Valve, made this rupture pin. Basically, if you have an oil well with extreme pressure, basically it would break and the pin would break and it would like automatically close off and lock the oil well. And he patented it.
Good in the ocean.
Oh, he made like, yeah, it would have been nice if they had it then. But he makes all this, he patents all this stuff to do, just thinks this stuff up. I'm like, wow. But yeah, I wrote their BiCard program. I wrote all kinds of programs for people. But yes, yeah, so if you're interested in those AS and DES, I'll share them with you. Just email me tomorrow or something. I'll get them to you. So. All right, I think we're done for the night. I don't even know, is anyone still online? Well, I actually got 3 people. Antoine and Aaron, they're both still here. Okay. All right, guys, I am stopping the recording and